Good morning. I'm on a Central Line train heading north to the end of the Central Line to Epping for episode 2 of End of the Line. So welcome to Epping Station in the top right hand corner of the tube map. The station wasn't originally built as part of the Underground, instead being part of the Great Eastern Railway in the 1860s. A lot of the Central Line in this area used to be mainline railways with steam trains and didn't become part of the tube network until 1949. Now the obvious thing we have to mention here is that the line used to go further, with stations at North Weald, Blake Hall and Ongar. But it closed on the last day of September in 1994, actually the same day that Aldwych Station on the Piccadilly line closed. A real dilemma for the enthusiast of the time who had to decide did they want to be on the last train out of Aldwych or the last train here out on the Central Line. Now trains do still operate here as part of the heritage Epping to Ongar Railway, and I've dug into my video archives and found this footage that I've never used before when making a Londonist video back in 2014. Craven unit trains were running that day. They'd even put up some roundels too, and I found the infamous zero marker point from which all points on the Underground are still measured from to this day. And if you do come here, then look out for this. This is a temporary sign at the moment. There will be a more permanent one, but the 00 pertains to 0 miles and 0 chains, which is how they measure railways. And the whole of the tube network, even today, even though this branch is closed, is still measured from this point in Ongar. That little white post there is the start of the tube network. So I'll put a link to the Epping to Ongar Railway in the description if you want to go and check that out and see what days they operate and what times they run. The exciting piece of news is, which I didn't know until researching for this, is that at the moment trains only come as far as Coopersdale, but there are plans, and I don't know how advanced they are, to build another station on the EOR slightly nearer, or much nearer in fact, to Epping Tube Station called either Epping Forest or Epping Glade, and it says just a couple of hundred metres away. So just up there might be a new station on the Epping to Ongar Railway at some point in the future. Epping Station certainly looks lovely, and there's a green flag on the outside here denoting that this is also the starting point of the Essex Way. That's an 81-mile footpath between here and Harwich. If walking's not your thing though, it might be because you're a driver, and if that's the case, Epping certainly does cater for the motorist, as it has the largest car park of any station on the network. So Epping Tube Station has 541 car parking spaces, including accessible bays and motorcycle parking and a bike rack. It's the largest on the tube because it's really popular, because it's cheaper TfL fares than, say, getting a train from Harlow on National Rail into town. So it fills up quite early on. Get here early if you want to park your car here at Epping. But what intrigues me is that at the bottom of the very large car park, can you see there's this, is that a yellow tube train? This is locomotive L11, and it's a hybrid experiment of 2 trains stuck back to back. It's from 1964, when 2 engine locomotives were cut in half and stuck together to form a rather unique shunting locomotive to use in depots. With 2 engines in use, it was more than powerful enough for its job-shifting tube trains around. It's part of the Signalling and Locomotive Museum here, and as well as the preserved unit, they're also restoring the excellent Epping signal cabin next door, which you can book a visit to go and see. Link in the description. Now it's from Epping that you can set off on the longest possible journey on one train on the tube. From here to West Ruislip, it's a total of 34 miles. It's also just outside of the M25, one of only 5 stations on the network to be so. It's also in Zone 6, but only because Essex County Council pay a subsidy that make the fares cheaper and therefore this part of the line more attractive to use. In fact, Debden and Thaydon Boyce used to be in Zone A and Epping in Zone B, which nowadays would make them Zone 7 and 8, but instead they're all in Zone 6. And another thing that I'm really interested in looking at here is the second entrance that Epping Station has. So on the eastern side of the station you've got platform 1. The main entrance is the other side on platform 2. This is the Hillcrest Way entrance exit, and I'm delighted to say that in recent times this has changed and has become more accessibly friendly, because it used to be that these gates were locked at all times. And if you look on the TfL website on the step-free tube map, there's a little box under, you know, the little red dagger for Epping that basically said, and this is incredible, that if you wanted step-free access, say if you're in a wheelchair and you wanted to exit on this side because there's only a footbridge over to the other side, you could speak to station staff at your departure station and let them know that you wanted to be routed in to platform 1, and they would actually call up Central Line control and make sure that the train you were on came in on this side and not the other side, so that you had step-free access. But now, delighted to say, this seems to have been improved. There's a poster up suggesting that this entrance exit is opened at more times, at more hours of the day, and maybe you don't have to call up line control so often. But there is still a little box there you can call if you do get here and you find the gate locked and you do want access. Good to see. It doesn't feel quite as rural or out in the sticks as, say, Amersham did, as we saw in the last episode, but it definitely does have that a little bit, a kind of a, where am I? Why am I here? End of the line. So that's Epping Station, which is of course on a station road, just a 5-minute walk away from the local high street. That's just your usual run-of-the-mill parade of shops, although I did quite like this impressive church. You should now, of course, make the effort with your Oyster card or travel card to come here at some point and explore for yourself at the end of the line. And as a final fun fact, did you know this isn't the only Epping station in the world? You type Epping Station into Google, it threw up the 2 that are in Australia. There's one in Melbourne and there's one in Sydney on the metro there as well. So this train's just arrived. I'm about to go and catch this, take this home. That is the end of the 2nd episode of End of the Lines Epping, exploring all the stations at the end of the lines on the London Underground. There's a playlist coming up. Press like, press subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.